Thank you so much for joining me on the first ever premium episode of One More Short Story with me, Chris Fulwell. Very, very excited to launch this new series of episodes. In these episodes, as well as the narrated stories and the chit-chat from me, we get to hear from the authors themselves. Two of the authors in this week's episode, Melanie York and Regan Westergard, are joining us in conversation about their stories and about their writing. And the third author, Christina Kershaw, we have a longer interview with her in written form. In another new thing for the podcast, and the other new thing is a newsletter called Long Story Short. Within that newsletter, you'll find details of these stories and more details of the writers themselves in this episode. You'll also find Christina's interview and something called the Story Selection Raffle, which I'll get to later. Okay, lots of exciting things. Thank you for joining me. So let's get on to our first story and our first author. So we are joined today first by Melanie York. Very excited to have Melanie with us today. Hello, Melanie. How are you?
Hello, I'm good.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Melanie is the author of, I want to get this title right, 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, the beginning of the end of the world again. Did I get that right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's a bit of a long title, but it was very fun to write it. I think it's one of my favorite titles.
I think it's a great title.
Writing title.
Yeah, definitely. Now, this was in the first battle of 2026, wasn't it? The professionally judged one.
Yeah.
And I can see here that your prompts were space, farce, shut in, and nest. Were you happy to draw space, farce? Was it up your street?
So I think I was not really knowing what it was at first. So I was mostly confused, I guess, at first. But I wasn't. I picked fighter for the class, so I wasn't really aiming to get into any specific role. But I think I like writing comedy, but I don't like when it's required to write comedy.
I see.
So
Yeah, no,
it was a little scary.
Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the rubric. I think that scared me a little bit. I kind of want to be funny without any expectation.
Oh, I see what you mean. No, it absolutely makes sense. Yeah, and for those of you who aren't in writing battle yourselves, when Melanie mentioned fighter just then, she wasn't kicking off. She wasn't getting leery. What she means is that we can choose a class when we enter the competition, and choosing fighter means any genre could come your way. You get more choices to redraw and have another go. But I'm the same. I did exactly the same thing. I went for fighter and just saw what came up. So yeah, interesting, that idea of because you're not the first person I've seen on writing battle say that I really enjoy writing comedy, but not when I'm told to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that idea of sort of you must be funny now. Other prompts, the space fast, the shut in, and the nest. How did that evolve in your head from there through to, the Zorby, the goldfish-like creature, all of that stuff? I don't want to give too much away because we've not heard the story yet, but how did that evolve?
Yeah, I rerolled all my prompts, except for the genre, because I don't think I've ever rerolled genre because I always want to give it a shot.
Yeah.
Maybe I will in the future. I don't know, but I felt like I sort of lucked out with those being my last two, even though I've been told that they're sort of difficult prompts. I feel like Nest works really well for an alien story. My immediate thought was oh, this is, well, I'm not gonna say it. Actually, I really shouldn't say too much, but my immediate thought was this is gonna work well for an alien story, or space farce, what has to do with aliens. And then for Shut In, I always like kind of getting one that's a little off because it kind of sparks my creativity, which is why I like these prompts, these prompt competitions.
And that's an excellent point, isn't it? I mean, it's great to be told, if someone tells me just go and write a 1,000-word story about anything, I'll be staring at the page for hours. But if you said, no, you've got, 2 days, 3 days, whatever it is, and here are your exact prompts, I think I'd agree with you completely. It's exciting, isn't it? Having to fit them around it. And I think we keep sort of almost giving away the story. So
yeah.
maybe we should do the story next, and then afterwards we can talk some more about it. So this is 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, the beginning of the end of the world, again by Melanie York. Barry had not stepped more than 10 feet outside since the world ended. His routine was simple. Wake up, take a dump, perform the obligatory 8-hour-long prayer to Lord Zorboid, eat a can of beans, bulk purchased at an extremely reasonable price, from his basement stockpile, doze off to his umpteenth rewatch of Grey's Anatomy. Other than the Zorboid compliance check each Friday, he lived unbothered and alone. It was a monotonous, mildly depressing, and most of all quiet existence. So it was quite a shock to Barry when, one Tuesday evening, his doorbell rang. He jerked upright on his recliner, spilling an open can of beans onto his lap, and paused the finale of Grey's Anatomy, Season 39. Silence. Maybe he'd imagined it. Barry was about to press play when it happened again. And, shortly after, "Coming!" Barry yelled. He wiped the beans off his pants. He was greeted by a tentacled creature who was, very obviously, wearing a Zorboid costume. Fuzzy green sleeves stretched taut across slimy, greyish-blue limbs. The mask only covered the top of their face, revealing puffy fish lips. They had 2 tentacles wrapped around a half-closed cardboard box. "Hello, I'm a Zorboid," they said, their voice wet with gurgles. Okay," Barry said. He cleared his throat, hoping the Zorboid-disguised creature would do the same. "Can I help you?" "My name is, Zorby. I'm here to sell something." They raised the box. "May I come inside?" "Sell what?" Zorby hesitated. "Furniture." "What kind?" "A lamp." Zorby opened the box for a split second, not long enough for Barry to really see. A flash of something glowing blue, followed by a fishy odour. "See? Light from the lamp." "You see this?" Barry pointed to a plaque nailed to his door. Zorby stared blankly at Barry. "I can't read English." "It says no soliciting." "I don't know what that means." "It means don't bother me." "Oh, not a problem. I won't be here long." Zorby pushed past Barry, leaving blue slime on his shirt. Too stunned to protest, Barry wordlessly followed them into his kitchen. The creature placed its box onto the checkered tiles. "Is this floor load-bearing?" they asked. "What?" "Could it support 7, perhaps 8,000 kilograms?" Zorby removed their mask entirely, revealing a goldfish-esque head and bulbous eyes. They crouched down, inspecting the floor closer. "Also nice tiling. Love the pattern." Barry's cheeks warmed, unexpectedly flattered. It was a painstaking renovation completed back in 2039, just before the invasion. Lucky timing. "Thanks, but I..." Barry crossed his arms. "Why are you asking?" "The lamp will get very heavy." "Not buying the lamp." "I'll give you a discount." Barry raised an eyebrow. "Really? How much?" 100%. Intrigued, Barry stepped closer. "Can I see it?" Zorby shielded the box with a tentacle. "You must wait." "Why?" "The lamp needs to charge, but when it's ready, it'll open the box itself. Convenient, right?" "I guess," Barry said, unconvinced. "Do you want a snack or something? While I think about it, I mean." "What do you have?" "Beans, mostly." Zorby's face lit up. Ooh, beans. Pinto or black? Barry smiled. Both. Zorby looked down, twiddling their tentacles like thumbs. I'd love some, please. Barry descended into his basement with budding levity, an unfamiliar feeling after 6 years of his perfunctory post-apocalyptic routine, stewing in his own solitary filth. He gathered a heaping armful of cans. On his return, however, Zorby wasn't in the kitchen. Barry's arms went limp, his massive bean haul tumbling onto his coveted tiling. Maybe he really did want that lamp. But when he entered his living room, he found Zorby gawking at his paused TV, the box under their tentacle. They looked at Barry, eyes wide. Do you watch Grey's Anatomy? Barry gasped. Do I? Are you kidding? He pointed to a shelf containing the entire 42-season collection. Zorby ran a tentacle along the DVDs, slicking their spines. I don't typically enjoy Earthling media, but Meredith Grey is such a powerhouse, you know? Happy tears filled Barry's eyes. Boy, do I. Zorby stared at the shelf, holding season 14. I wasn't going to ask, but now... They turned to Barry. How would you, hypothetically, feel about a roommate? Barry's heart leapt. Are you looking for a place? Oh, Zorby blushed purple. Not me. A newborn. Hungry. Heavy, eventually. 7, perhaps 8,000 kilograms. But it wouldn't eat you. I'd ensure that. Hypothetically. Hungry's not ideal. I don't have many beans left. Zorby brought a contemplative tentacle to their chin. How about another drastically more hostile takeover of Earth, led by a reborn Golgonid god? One who will, after some consideration, not be incubated in your kitchen. Like, as a concept, would that be okay? Well, I didn't love the first takeover. What if the invaders had excellent taste in television? Barry paused, seriously considering this. Still, no, he said. Zorby sighed. That's a shame. I should leave. They slunk towards the front door, eyes downcast. Panic washed over Barry. What? So soon? He stepped in front of Zorby. That lamp? I'm sold. Let's talk details. Zorby shook their head. This one's broken. I'll get you a better one. So you'll be back? A slight smile curved Zorby's lips. I'll be back. Same time tomorrow? Perfect. Zorby turned to leave, but as they opened the door, they froze. Their slight smile widened. And you can call me Fimo, they said. Zorby's my salesman name. Barry stuck out his hand. All right, Fimo. I'm Barry. They shook, palm to tentacle. With that, Fimo headed out. Grinning, Barry wiped slime off his hand, then plopped onto his recliner with a can of pinto beans. Instinctively, he reached for the remote to press play, to immerse himself into a world of Meredith Grey powerhousing the Seattle Grey Hospital, to tune out his monotonous, mildly depressing, and, most of all, quiet existence. Instead, he pressed power off. He'd wait to watch the finale tomorrow with a friend. So there we go. I really enjoyed being able to read that one. I had a lot of fun reading that and doing the voice for Zorby, or Fimo, as we should call them. I think please do tell us more about where that 7,000, 8,000 kilogram nest idea came from. Have you got much of a background in writing sci-fi?
No, that was the problem. Like I really like I think if it were any kind of other comedy, I would be okay, but I am so bad with world building. So I almost feel like I did a cop out by just putting it on Earth. So I was that was like my attempt to make it like I guess Fimo slash Zorby was my attempt to make it, and all the weird odd details was an attempt to tie it to the genre, I guess. But I was really struggling with it.
Oh, I don't think I wouldn't say this was bad at world building at all. I think you've got the idea of the takeover and people living off beans and the kind of farcically miserable life that that all the humans left have got. But no, I think it worked very well there, the world building. But yeah, and Zorby, are you a Grey's Anatomy fan by any chance?
No, that's the thing also. I've only watched a couple episodes, so it was a lot of me like kind of feeling like a hack, like writing, looking up certain things. And like actually in the original I had somebody when I posted the story, I don't want to like say her name or anything, but
That's okay.
she's really nice. She left a really nice comment. And I think she's a fan of Grey's Anatomy, so she very nicely was like, so I don't think that's the name of the hospital. Like at the end, I was like, oh no. I was like, oh no. So yeah.
Don't worry, you've made your own little world. It could be a slightly alternate universe where that is the name of the hospital, or by the time they hit season 39 or whatever it is in your story, maybe the original hospital's been blown up or something. I don't know, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. All right. So you don't have much of a sci-fi background, but you took to it really well. I think you wouldn't have known that by reading the story. That was in the professionally judged battle earlier this year. Is it something that you'd look to do more of, do you think, sci-fi, or do your interests lie elsewhere in writing?
I don't think I want to do any more sci-fi. I think that was enough.
Oh,
I think
enough.
if I get another genre, one of my other writing battle stories in Sword and Sorcery, that in my mind also takes a lot of world building, and I again just put the story on Earth. So whenever I just feel like I always have to ground it to something that I know, because it's very difficult for me to make up a new world. I'm very envious of people that can do that and have so much world building that feels really like it stands on its own. Does that make sense? Like, not to say what I did was bad, but I always struggle with
it's really not.
things.
I think I know what you mean. There are plenty of amazing sci-fi writers out there, and fantasy too, who love spending hours and hours and hundreds of pages building up these amazing worlds. I think you've got to give yourself a break because you had 1,000 words. You can't build up an enormous post-apocalyptic world in every detail in 1,000 words. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. It was very clear to follow what had happened. You set up the post-apocalyptic world very nicely there, and then when Zorby comes knocking at the door, it all fits within the world you've built.
Yeah.
So what? Yeah. No, it did. Absolutely, it did. Yeah, and I'm sure people listening will agree. And you got a lot of love for that story on Debrief, didn't you? You got a lot of really kind comments on that. Yeah, which is definitely one of the best parts of the competition, when everyone's saying nice things about the stories. So, what next for Melanie York? What other writing projects have you got in the pipeline?
Well, I mostly just stick to writing contests. I'm like trying to experiment with writing longer pieces, but there hasn't really been anything that's substantial enough to really talk about, if that makes sense. So
absolutely,
like I'm trying like on the side to do stuff, but it's also difficult. I guess I struggle with sitting down and writing longer things, which is why the writing contests are so good, because again, it gives you a very clear deadline and very clear rails where you have to box your creativity in, if that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, absolutely. I hear that. I think an awful lot of people on Writing Battle and in other contests, as you said, really, really like that creative constraint, because it sort of squeezes the diamond out of the coal, doesn't it? And that you have to get cracking versus a more open-ended project. Well, do stay in touch and do let us know if there are other projects you do that are outside of the competition that we can follow along with. But I know that those of us in Writing Battle will continue to watch what you do and look forward to the next Melanie York adventure.
Thank you so much, Chris. And it was
No,
really
you're
nice
very welcome.
talking with you. Yeah.
It's great talking with you, and I really enjoyed the story, and we'll look forward to having you on next time. So that's Melanie York, everyone. Thank you so much for coming on. Okay, our next author today is Regan Westergard. We're joined by Regan to talk about her story, The Abduction Package. Hello, Regan. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm okay, thanks. I'm all right. I'm very glad to have you here. I've read again, before we started recording, I've read The Abduction Package again, and I loved it. I cannot wait to share this with the listeners. This was a little while ago, wasn't it? Was it last year you did this one?
Yeah, I think, I don't even remember. I think the middle of last year.
Middle of last year, okay. All right. And the prompts were, I've got aliens with an exclamation mark, obviously, rich aunt and tea kettle. Can you...
Yes.
Without spoiling anything, because we haven't heard the story yet, can you sort of talk us briefly through sort of where your brain went from that? Were you happy with the genre? Did you have to re-roll a bunch of times? Did you wing it? Was it, how did you work on that?
If I remember correctly, actually, what were the 4 genres of that?
Good question. Yeah, I've just had a look now, and the 4 genres were aliens, shipwrecked, revenge, and time travel romance. So quite the variety there.
Oh, I think what happened was I was happy with pretty much all of the genres except for shipwrecked. I didn't want that one, and so naturally that's the one I got. And
Often the way it goes, isn't it? Yeah. It's amazing how often that seems to happen. In the same way that some products seem to be listening to us and advertise things to us. Max and Tiona sit at home cackling and rubbing their hands while we land on the genres we do not want.
I feel like with me, it's either an exact hit or an exact miss. I get exactly the one I wanted, or I get the only one that I did not want. There is no in between.
There's no, that's quite nice in a way, with no beige middle. There's a strong, a strong response. Have you before this? Have you written much sort of sci-fi or alien-y type things before?
I hadn't written all that much sci-fi. I've always been really interested in aliens and the prompts that go around the internet that's like Earth is space Australia, or the aliens land on Earth but they didn't account for bears, that kind of thing. I love that.
Yeah. No, these are good. I'm going to start writing these down. No, absolutely. No, it's okay. So not sci-fi writing so much, but lots of outside interest in that kind of thing.
Yeah, I've definitely done my not done. I've listened to and watched my fair share of conspiracy content.
Okay. All right.
And so I've definitely read plenty of sci-fi. I just I was tending to write a little bit more on the fantasy side of things, but I had started branching out a little bit more into the sci-fi realm because I've been told by multiple people, namely my writing partner / editor. She always tells me it's not that deep, but I always want everything to work out because I am of the impression that everyone is seeking a plot hole and I must prevent them from finding one. So.
I mean, I hope your readers weren't there to try and, undermine you and sabotage you.
It's never happened. I don't know why I have this persecution complex that they're looking for my plot holes, but it's resulted in my writing being very strong, and it has a lot of background knowledge that no one is ever going to know but me, but I know it's there.
Well, absolutely. Well, that comes from a really good place, doesn't it? It comes from a real passion for what you're doing and a desire to make it as good as it can be, as strong as it can be. Now, I'm not going to spoil the story, but I would like to ask, and you feel free to say no or I can't tell you that, but with the character of the great, the aunt, is she based on anyone that you met in real life?
Absolutely not.
Fine. People, when we hear this in a minute, people will hopefully understand why I've asked that. But all right, okay. We're going to hear the story now. Regan's narrated this for us. You'll recognise Regan's voice from having narrated a fair few stories for us in the past. This is The Abduction Package, written and narrated by Regan Westergard.
Aunt Alexia was a reptilian. At least, that's what YouTube said. Coval squinted at her computer screen. A strange glitch elongated her aunt's pupils just for a few frames. A split second that had somehow been transformed into a 20-minute conspiracy video. Well, it would certainly explain her total lack of fiscal responsibility. Coval still had the Gucci backpack Alexia had purchased for her first day of preschool. Then again, who could expect rationality from a woman whose fortune was built on a pyramid scheme? As if on cue, Coval's phone buzzed, filling the screen with a photo of Alexia in her hot pink pantsuit, spread eagle on a bed of Hungarian forint. She didn't like her Belgian linens to touch U.S. currency. "Coval, darling!" Alexia trilled. Coval wondered for the 1000th time how her thoroughly American aunt managed to develop such a posh London accent. "Hey, Aunt Alexia, how's it going?" "Oh, Angel, simply dreadful. I can't find my Alexander McQueen circuit board jumpsuit. You know, the one from his $4.99 collection? You don't know where I've put it, do you?" Coval was rendered temporarily speechless, though she knew it was safest not to ask questions. "Sorry, I haven't seen it." A dramatic sigh gusted from the phone speaker. "Hey, Aunt Alexia, do you want to go for a coffee this Thursday? It's been a while since we caught up. But no Kopi Luwak this time, I'm begging you." "Oh, sweetheart, I would absolutely love to, but I simply can't make it this Thursday. I'm getting abducted that day." Coval pulled her phone away from her face to stare at the blank screen. After several seconds of being unable to rationalize what she'd just heard, she finally put the phone back to her ear and said, "You're getting what?" "Abducted, darling, abducted," Alexia said. "Why, do you want to be abducted too? My package comes with a guest pass." She let out a gasp. "Oh, please do come. We can make it a girls' trip. You've got a metallic jumpsuit, haven't you? Or are you too young for that? When were you born again? 94? Oh, that won't do. I'll have to call up dear Alessandro. You have to look the part, after all." Somehow, Coval found herself walking to the center of a cornfield at 3 a.m. that Thursday, wearing a several $1,000 chrome jumpsuit and being escorted by a man who was inexplicably wearing sunglasses. Alexia threw a circuit board patterned arm across Coval's shoulders. "I'm so glad you decided to come, Angel. This is going to be such an adventure." Coval still wasn't sure if her aunt had booked some ridiculous helicopter tour with a guy in a green suit or if they were about to be taken over the border in burlap sacks. Either way, she was fairly certain she hadn't agreed to this. In fact, she was 100% certain. How did I even get here? "Please come this way, Miss Lacerta and Miss Aberdeen." Their MIB cosplaying escort gestured to a flattened circle in the corn. "Ooh," Alexia squealed. "Look at that, Coval. They even have a crop circle." "Yeah, great. Aunt Alexia, what exactly does this package include? Like, what's the itinerary?" "Well," she said, leaning in, "they can't exactly guarantee anything once we're on board. It's quite out of their hands, you see." Alexia gave her a conspiratorial eye roll. "But I've read the reviews, and it seems that we can expect to sample some extraterrestrial food. Then they'll take us to be harvested, whatever that means. You're up to date on your tetanus booster, right? Never mind. And then," Alexia paused for dramatic effect, "we're going to be probed. Isn't that exciting?" Coval had been unable to form words nor facial expressions beyond slack-jawed bewilderment. "Aunt Alexia, do you actually mean real aliens?" "The politically correct term is extra-terrestrials, dear. Don't be crude." "Fine, real extraterrestrial." A blinding, thrumming beam of light obliterated the cornfield, filling her mind, body, and soul until the world ceased to exist and only the beam remained. Either moments or decades later, Coval's back slammed into something that was decidedly not Earth. "Oh God, why is it warm?" "Jesus, Mary and Joseph," Alexia wheezed. "My sinuses haven't been this clear since 1992. Coval coughed and pushed herself upright. As her eyes refocused, she realized they were in a cave-like structure peppered with enormous protruding holes like a wasp nest. She couldn't tell where the space's soft amber light was coming from. "Crumbs, I'm so sorry, Angel," Alexia sighed. "I've dressed us entirely inappropriately." She was looking between her chrome jumpsuit and the mottled brown walls with an expression of distaste. Coval didn't have time to formulate a response before something skittered from one of the holes in the wall. It made a horrible clicking sound as it moved, as if its body parts weren't meant to fit together. A face bearing enormous black eyes and a small pair of needle-like mandibles came into view. The spines along its back clattered as it moved closer, carried by 6 legs. Coval shrieked and scrambled backward. The thing paused. A brassy tea kettle dangled from one of its front limbs. "Coval," her aunt hissed, "don't be rude." The insectoid monstrosity flared its pincers. "Tea?" it offered. Coval's jaw dropped. The voice was very human, very... Is that Britney Spears? "Based on our previous research," the thing continued, "tea is a common relaxant for humans. Additionally, this voice was found to be most soothing to our clients. Do you feel soothed?" "Oh, it's lovely," Alexia said, accepting a porcelain cup of tea. "May I call you Brittany?" The thing, extra-terrestrial, chittered. Was that a yes? "Please follow me," Brittany said, gesturing with its segmented arm, the kettle swaying precariously. The limb ended in something like a crab's claw, split 4 ways. "The first procedure is what humans call getting probed." "Wonderful," Alexia beamed, taking a swig of her tea. "Come on, Coval, let's get probed."
Okay, there we go. The Abduction Package. I mean, I'm not sure I've ever heard a story with quite so much reference to probing before. Loved it. I can tell you had a lot of fun reading that. Please do tell us more about where this idea for an abduction package and the kind of slightly left field stuff came from.
So when I rolled into Aliens, I'm pretty sure I also re-rolled my character. I love a re-roll. I am not shy about using all of them. And I landed on Rich Ant, and I was like, oh, that's perfect. The item was the one that burned through all my re-rolls, and I was still kind of lost at the beginning on how to incorporate a tea kettle into this. And it just came from the idea of rich people not knowing what to do with their money and spending thousands and millions of dollars on insane experiences that no one needs to have or no one should be having, like the planned billionaire trip to the moon or whatever it is around space. Like rich people who have too much money they don't know what to do with it. They just do insane things. And so I thought, well, getting abducted sounds like a rich person vacation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I see what you mean. I do. I love the speaking of the tea kettle, I like the sort of the many twists and turns at the end where the little alien creature, or extraterrestrial, I should say, pops out with tea, and then it's all maybe this is going swimmingly, and then the first procedure is called getting probed, and off they go. I mean, it's to me that goes right back to sort of the X-Files of the 90s, and probably before, stories of people getting abducted in the crop circles, but for some reason it always comes back to probing. Probably says a lot about us as people.
I'm not going to argue that.
No, okay, fair. Right, so are you taking part in other writing battles this year? Are you signed up? Are you thinking about it? Have you got other stuff going on?
This year I haven't signed up because, in my first ever battle I did really well, and like someone who tried meth for the first time, I've been chasing my high ever since. I haven't been able to come anywhere near there again, and I've got a lot of projects going on, so not only paying money but also using time that I could be doing something else on a competition that I do enjoy, but I'm probably not going to win anything. At this point it feels a little bit like a sunk cost, if that makes sense. If I had more time and more money, I would absolutely be doing it. But
like a rich person hobby, you mean?
Yes.
But not as wild as getting abducted. No, I know what you mean. I think you've definitely done an awful lot better than me and nearly everyone else in the competition. Regan's referring to Of Ferrets and Foxes, which was featured on one of our earlier episodes, which in her first competition she got the runner-up position and did very, very well. And yeah, she read it, and it's a terrific story. I can imagine that, having done so well, it is tricky to take part in the competition again. But look, we hope you do. We hope to see and hear more from you. Looking forward to seeing what else you got up to. But it also sounds great that you've got so many projects on the go. You are a busy person.
That's for sure. I've gotten roped into writing the script for a dating sim game somehow.
Oh, wow. Okay, that does sound good.
There's that. I've been writing under a pen name, and I'm publishing my third book the 30th of this month of April.
Congratulations. That's great.
Thanks. It's considering it's indie published and it's of highly questionable content, it's actually doing pretty well compared to other indie authors. So
it's entirely up to you whether you want to tell us the pen name or whether you'd rather leave that and keep it separate. That's entirely up to you. I'm very happy to put that name out there and put the book out there because you've clearly worked very hard on that. It is entirely your call. That's your choice.
I'm not ashamed. For me, I'm worried about your reputation entirely.
I have no reputation. Don't worry. Anyone that's met me in real life will know that I have no reputation. And people don't have to go and look up your book, do they? If they're interested in finding out what on earth we're talking about. So go on. What are we looking for?
Right. So it is also aliens, actually. This came after the Abduction Package and another alien story that I did for Writing Battle that did not do very well.
Okay.
Basically, what happened is my friend who's reviews romance as like a part-time gig, she has been wanting to write a book in the Omegaverse, which I had never read before.
Right, okay.
And she discovered that I was a pretty good writer, and I was like, wow, someone's going to give me a free prompt and guidelines, and I just get to write? That sounds great. She runs all the social media. Awesome. So now I've written 3 gay alien Omegaverse books. They are extremely not safe for work. If you are a freak and into that, welcome. The name is Naya More. And all the books start with where the something him. So where the current takes him, where the sea swept him. Newest one is where the tides pull him.
Where the tides pull him. Okay, and was that Naya More?
Naya More.
Naya More, okay. Like the eel, absolutely. And we'll put that in the description of the episode. And exactly as Regan says, if you're into that sort of thing, if you're into gay Omegaverse fiction, fantastic. If you're not, you do you. No judgment. But I think you hit upon something interesting there. Your friend spotted you were a very good writer, and you clearly are. So yeah, best of luck. Best of luck with it all, Regan. I'm looking forward to hearing more about this in the future. And of course, you're going to keep narrating for us, aren't you?
Oh, yes, of course. I'm enjoying the sound of my own voice, so.
Yeah. Well, I think the listeners are too. That's the most important thing, but I'm glad you're enjoying it too. All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is Regan Westergard, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. Bye-bye now. Right. Before we move on to our third and final story today, it's time to introduce the story selection raffle. The way the story selection raffle works is, in every one of these premium episodes, so every 2 weeks, one subscriber will be picked at random using a random number generator, and that person will win the chance to either have their story from Writing Battle recorded and published on an episode coming up, or if the winner is not a writer, they can choose to nominate another writer's story to be recorded and published instead. Obviously, I'll then get in touch with that writer and they have to agree to it. We're not going to go around stealing anybody's work just because someone's won a raffle draw. So yeah, every 2 weeks you get the opportunity, if you subscribe, to influence which stories appear on the podcast. It could be one of yours. It could be one of your own Writing Battle stories. It could be a Writing Battle story you've read and absolutely loved. It could be a story that was written by someone you know and you think really deserves the shout out and you want to take the opportunity to get that story out there, the choice will be yours. So here we go. Now, this being the first ever premium episode, I have had to do this raffle a little bit differently. I've been trialling out a few of the new features with a wonderful writing group that I'm part of called Up, Down, Left, Right. That works better visually because it's WRITE, like the writing, not the direction. But I've been working through with those lovely people, proofreading of the newsletter, that sort of thing. So obviously I don't really have any premium subscribers at time of recording, so I've just done a random number generator from this writing group. I haven't told them this is happening. This should be exciting. Okay, here we go. The random number generator tells me that the winning individual in this first ever premium episode is Harry Humber. Well done, Harry. We get to pick one of your stories, or you can nominate someone else's. I will be in touch. So that is what the story selection raffle will look like every 2 weeks. I look forward to coming across stories that wouldn't necessarily have crossed my desk with the thousands and thousands and thousands of stories within the excellent Writing Battle community. Okay, here we go. Our final story today is Plunged into Battle by Christina Kershaw. You can read Christina's interview in the first issue of Long Story Short, the newsletter that accompanies these premium episodes, available only for subscribers. I won't just sit here and read word for word what she's responded to in the interview, but her take on the writing battle process is great. She's very open. She's very honest about how she approaches these things. She got her prompts of swashbuckler, fugitive, and plunger, and immediately, well, if you've heard or read any of Christina's work before, it will be no surprise as to where her mind went. As soon as I read this, I wanted it on the show and I wanted to narrate it myself. It's got that slightly old-fashioned humour, and I mean that in the best of ways. Without any further chit-chat from me, let's get into it. We have Plunged into Battle by Christina Kershaw. Staring down the point of a blade was nothing new to Flint Galantine. He effortlessly parried the blow and ducked beneath the clumsy, outstretched arm. 1 minute he had been in front of the Guildhall's beautiful stained-glass window, vowing to fight knavery for as long as it existed. The next he was here. A huge, draughty room with a boarded-up window. A den of iniquity, he'd guess, judging by the armed men conspiring here. A frightened yelp drew his attention. 8 men holding flimsy rapiers cowered in the corner. Flint shook his head in disgust. Even knaves should know bravery. His opponent, taking advantage of the distraction, bashed the hilt of his sword into Flint's back. Flint collapsed to one knee, but being a skilled fighter, followed the momentum into a smooth forward roll, leaping back to his feet. He spun to face his attacker. "You are an excellent swordsman, that much is clear, but our fight ends here." Flint lunged forward, thrusting his blade into the opponent's strange white waistcoat. A bizarre little box by their feet sounded and lit up green. What on earth was that? His opponent's blade struck him. "Your blade is woefully neglected. Why in the heavens is it so dull?" Flint asked. He didn't wait for a response and kicked the box square into his opponent's shins. Snake-like attachments tangled around the ruffian's legs, making him stumble. Sensing an opportunity, Flint flicked the dull blade clattering to the floor, where one sweeping kick later, its owner soon joined it. Flint stood over his opponent, blade pressed against the neck. Or at least where the neck would be if it wasn't for this strange starched collar. "I have bested you. My reward shall be the end of this gang of brigands." "What are you on about?" the opponent yelled, in a higher-pitched voice than Flint expected. Perhaps this was normal here. Or perhaps not. The opponent removed the mask to reveal a woman with long, wavy hair. "You're a woman?" Flint spluttered, and hurriedly sheathed his blade. "Dear lady, I will fight you no longer. This is no place for you. What has drawn you to a path such as this?" She staggered to her feet. "Won't fight a woman? Sexist pig. This isn't the 1900s. Flint was starting to suspect it was no longer the 1600s either. "And as for my life choices, can women not be instructors in your backwards neck of the woods?" Flint frowned. Instructor? Is this not a den of iniquity and devious plots? Her face softened with concern. In a loud, clear voice she asked, "Are you okay? This is a club. We learn to fence." She mimed, swinging a sword. "How do you not know this? And have you been running around with that blade? The police will be all over you." Police? Were they like town guards? How could he fulfill his vow from a cell? Flint fell to one knee, holding his rapier aloft. "Please, forgive me, and accept this sword as recompense." Then, as an afterthought, "Where can I get an ale? This bout has left me parched." "You fight well. For a woman." Apparently, the tavern here didn't serve ale before 11. Preposterous. But there was a delightful coffee place down the road. Flint, who had repeatedly dismissed coffee as a passing mania, was surprised. Still, when in Rome. "Greetings, pretty miss," he said to the grumpy-looking lady behind the counter, who was busy working a strange, hissing machine. "Where's the privy?" She didn't respond, instead tapping a sign. No use of the facilities without purchase. How peculiar. "One coffee, then, please." "Americano?" "No, British, my dear," Flint said, dropping a few coins on the counter. She rolled her eyes and handed him a key, pointing to the back. Ignoring cries of "These aren't pounds," Flint slipped into the toilet. While investigating a strange bottle labelled hand sanitizer, a kerfuffle broke out, with shouts of "Thief! He's got my bag!" At last, a real fugitive. Flint reached for his rapier, but the scabbard was empty, so he snatched the nearest item, a wooden stick with red rubber on the end, and charged out just in time to see the scoundrel disappearing through the door. The chase was over before it even began. Vaulting the wall outside, Flint easily cut off the thief's escape. The thief tried to spin round, but Flint drew his arm back and launched his new weapon. It was clunkier than his usual rapier, but he did enjoy the popping sound it made as it struck the side of the thief's face. "What the... is that a plunger?" said the thief. "A plunger. What a great name for such a magnificent weapon." Flint strode forward and seized the man as the cafe patrons and bystanders crowded around. "That was amazing," said a suave gentleman with perfectly manicured hair and a crisp suit, who clapped him on the shoulder. "You're not looking for a job, are you?" Over the heavy bass blasting from the speakers, a cry came from the nightclub toilets. "Blackguards! Drugs are not tolerated in this fine establishment." This was shortly followed by two dishevelled men scurrying out, both wearing matching circular marks on their faces. Flint Galantine appeared, plunger proudly held over his shoulder. It seemed no matter the era, knavery would always be found, and nothing gave him more satisfaction than a job well done. An exasperated shout came from the bar. "Look, I already told you I'm not interested." "Scoundrel!" Flint, plunger aloft, charged into action. It just really appeals to me, that idea of some poor time-travelling individual ending up running around with a plunger rather than a sword, and still gravitating towards that supporting the good, dismissing of the ruffians and the scoundrels and the vagabonds, etc., etc. That story was from the Tempest Owl battle, the first professionally judged battle of 2026, and it picked up 3 wins and then 3 losses, and therefore did not make it out of the house stage, which I think is a crime. But then I am biased because I've got it on the show. But yes, Christina, well done again. Yeah, great stuff, and thank you, Christina, for consenting to us having it on the show. If you haven't already, do please open up the newsletter and have a read of Christina's interview. I think you'll enjoy it. She has a great sense of humour, both in her stories and in her responses to my questions. I've greatly enjoyed putting together the episode and the newsletter, talking to writers about the craft of writing and what they then do with the stories they generate in writing battle is fascinating. And I'm looking forward to doing much more of that as we develop these premium episodes. So that's it from me. Thank you for joining us on One More Short Story with me, Chris Fulwell. We'll see you next time.